Welcome. I'm Kerry Ingram. I'm the Chief Inspector of Mines and OH&S for WSCC for the Nunavut as well as the Northwest Territories. And I'm responsible for the inspectors that come to your workplace and conduct inspections and communicate with you when they're in your communities.
Hi, and I am Meta Antolin. I'm the manager of OHS program development. So essentially developing resources for safety programs in the workplaces. My team builds all the templates and the toolboxes and all the information that can help move your safety culture along in your workspaces.
So today we're going to be touching on a few different items. But really the overall goal is to ensure that you understand the roles and responsibilities. And WSCC is here to support the directions of the Chief Public Health Office, but ultimately we're actually here for your safety. We want to ensure that the things that are put in place in your workplace are there to protect you so you go home safe at the end of the day. WSCC continues to work with employers as well as workers to improve the exposure control plans that are in your workplace. WSCC inspectors will be conducting inspections in your workplace and providing guidance and resources as they see or as you indicate to them. Your employers have a responsibility to ensure that they complete and review a workplace risk assessment that looks at the hazards and the controls that are in place to protect you at your workplace. They are there to develop the safety plan at the workplace, but also to work with you to have an understanding of what your concerns are. When they have completed the risk assessment, it's important that they provide the training on what the controls are and how to protect you. Take, for instance, personal protective equipment. If you're required to wear personal protective equipment, they need to ensure that you know how to wear it properly to protect yourself and others. Keeping workers informed and up to date as changes happen. As things migrate back and forth with the COVID virus, there will be changes, and it's important that your employer understands that they need to keep you informed. Checking in with workers on a regular basis, not only just to talk about the controls or the hazards, but also your well-being and your mental health to ensure that you are safe and well taken care of. So the employer's workplace risk assessment, with the assessment or the assistance of the worker, the employer must identify the risks to you, the worker, that you need to eliminate or minimize to protect you. Part of this is determining the steps everyone must take to protect the worker, and that could be things like your controls, which are your personal protective equipment, barriers, how you interact with customers in your workplace. All of these are important, and it's important that you communicate with your employer how those controls are put in place. Workers' responsibilities. It is your responsibility to ensure that the safe work procedures that your employer trains you on are actually being upheld. If you are trained on a work procedure and you violate that procedure, you are the one that's being put at risk, not your employer. So please ensure that you follow the directions of your employer. Workers' hazard assessments. We've got a tool or a document on our website that allows you to identify the hazards in your work environment and ensure the controls are in place, because sometimes you may leave your regular work area and be in an area that your employer has not put controls in place to protect you. And this is your opportunity to evaluate the work area and ensure the controls are in place. These worker hazard assessments are important to be able to communicate with your employer. So your employer should have a copy of them, but you should also remain or have a copy that is updated on a regular basis. When you participate in the training, it's important to actually participate and provide feedback to your employer if you feel that there's things that you don't know about or don't understand. Using personal protective equipment correctly. I made reference to this before, but if you're wearing a mask or asked to wear a mask, you must wear it because that is in their control plan, but you must also wear it properly. So if you're provided a mask that needs to be worn, you can't wear it just on your lip. You have to have it covering your entire respiratory system. Reporting incidents. If you have an incident where you believe or you have the possibility of having injury or being exposed to the COVID virus, it is important that you report that to your employer so that they can react appropriately. If you have even symptoms of the COVID virus, again, another reason why you should report to your employer so that they can take the necessary precautions to protect others in your workplace. Asking questions. There's no such thing as a silly question. You need to ask those questions because if you think you have a question, others probably have the same question. And it's important to communicate that with your employer. Check with your supervisor regularly to make sure that everything is going well. If you have questions, the only way your supervisor is going to know is if you talk to them and you make sure that that open line of communications is there. So the hazard assessment that I said is on our website. Basically what it does is it allows you to assess your work area and highlight areas where the worker, can be exposed to the COVID virus at your work site. Ensuring that the controls are in place before beginning work. So if you've identified that you need additional controls to protect yourself, that's when you need to reach out to your employer and let them know what those controls are, because they're the ones there to help you.
All workers have 3 fundamental rights in their workplaces. In short, they are the right to know, the right to participate, and the right to refuse work with unusual danger. So with the right to know, you want to know what the hazards are and how to control them. Hazards, anything that can hurt you or cause you harm, and in this case through exposure to COVID-19. Anything that you do in the way that you do your work that could expose you to COVID-19. And the way that the safety plan has laid out how you're going to control those. So that right to know means that your employer has to train you on those things. They have to let you know, you have to let them know where that can happen, and then you both address how you will look after that. The right to participate is that worker hazard assessment that Carrie just spoke to. That's the point where you're doing an inspection on your work site to see that all those hazards and the controls that your employer and you have agreed to and you've been trained on, you're making sure that they can happen at the work site where you are. This is particularly important when you get to a work site where your employer might not have control over the site, and you can determine how you will look after things. Can you maintain the 2-meter distance? Do you need to have respiratory protection? Any sort of control measures? Are there barriers in place that will keep you at a safe distance from other people in the workplace? So that hazard worker assessment, I don't think I said that right, but that's your participating in the safety and giving your employer feedback on how those things are working in the workplace. The right to refuse work with unusual danger is a very specific right in the safety legislation. It comes from it starts with that feeling that you're doing work or being asked to do work that you are either not trained in, or it's not a regular part of your job, or you just don't know how to do it properly. In any event, it's something that you are not prepared to do safely in your workplace. So I'll go through the steps of how you would do the right to refuse work. The first thing is that you would stop the work that you are doing or don't start the work that you have been asked to do, and report to your supervisor that according to you and as far as you know, that work is not safe. It's then the employer, your supervisor's responsibility to look into it. You cannot be brushed off and say, oh, we'll look at it later, or you can go, it's okay, you know how to do it. Your supervisor actually has to look at the work to make sure that it is in fact safe for you to proceed. In this process, you can have somebody with you to investigate the situation. So that can be a safety representative, or if you have an occupational health and safety committee in your workplaces, when you have a larger work site, you would have a committee, have a representative from the committee join that investigation. And it would be somebody who would be knowledgeable about your concerns and about how the work would be done safely. During the investigation, you want to keep a safe distance from whatever the danger is. You want to make sure that you keep safe. With the investigation, the supervisor, the representative, and whoever is present conducting the investigation will determine if the work is safe, if it is not safe. If they determine that it is safe, they in fact have to show you that it is safe. Or if they determine that it is not safe, they'll have to show you what you will do as an employer and as you as the worker to make that work safe. With those results, you can either agree and say, okay, this is good to go and I can go about my work. Or if you still feel unsafe, but your employer is saying that you're safe and you want further investigation, that's when you would notify the WSCC. As we're all getting back to work through the emerging safely and the different directions from the Chief Public Health Office, we want to let you know that we are continuously producing resources to try to help guide you through the process. The specific resources that we were talking about in here with the workplace risk assessment and the workers hazard assessment, those are required documents that need to be filled out according to the safety plan that you have in your workplace. That, by the way, you do not need to submit those to the WSCC. Those are for your employer and for you to maintain and keep updating as need be. They're all available on our website at the Risk Assessment and Worksite Precaution Planning for COVID page. There's a nice big red arrow pointing to what you can click on. That'll take you to the page that we're talking about. And on that page, you'll see different resources that are color-coded. The ones that are blue are things that are absolutely required by either yourself or your employer. And what you want to do is get familiar with those terms and make sure that those things are in place at your workplace, that you know how to find them in your workplace, and that you know how to report on things not working according to those plans that are happening. The green items are guides that would help you work on those different tools that are required. And then the orange, those are resources such as signs and decals that either your employer or you as a worker, if you want to have reminders around your workspace about which way people should be moving, what the 2-meter distance looks like, or how many people are allowed to be in a workspace. You can download those signs, print them out and indicate and post them about your workplace. Those are great reminders for not just you and your coworkers, but anybody who comes into the workplace as well. And it's always good to have a sign to remind you when you're going the wrong way. Right? So we know it's going to be a challenge. We know that lots of people are moving back into the workplace. Some workers are staying at home working remotely. We want to make sure that all those workers are safe. If you have any questions about how that can be done or guidance on any of the processes that we talked about, please feel free to reach out to us through these 2 emails. We have one for the Northwest Territories, another one for Nunavut. This is specific for COVID-19 at wscc.nt.ca for the Northwest Territories, and COVID-19 at wscc.nu.ca for Nunavut. Again, please feel free to reach out if you need more clarification or if you have questions or concerns. Thank you for watching our session. And we look forward to hearing from you.